By the morning of June 18th, 1815, Napoleon Bonaparte had already lost the war. He just didn't know it yet. His army was outnumbered. His best marshal had already made a mistake that couldn't be undone. And two enemy armies were closing in from different directions, hours apart, both aimed at the same muddy field in Belgium. Any general with a map and a clear head would have looked at this and done one thing: pulled back, regroup, fought another day. Napoleon didn't retreat. By nightfall, an empire that had ruled most of Europe would be finished forever. So what actually happened in the hours before that decision? And why did one of history's greatest military minds walk straight into the trap that ended him? To understand why Napoleon didn't retreat, you have to go back 3 days to a battle most people have never heard of, because it happened right before the one that mattered. On June 16th, Napoleon splits his forces and wins at a place called Ligny, badly mauling the Prussian army under Field Marshal Blücher. It looks on paper like a real victory, the kind of win that used to define his career, but here's the detail that changes everything. Napoleon assumes the Prussians are broken and retreating east out of the fight completely. He sends one of his marshals, Grouchy, with over 30,000 men to chase them down and make sure. Except the Prussians aren't retreating out of the war. They're regrouping, turning north toward a British and Allied army under the Duke of Wellington. Blücher isn't beaten. He's making a promise to an ally, and that promise, one army marching to save another, is going to arrive at almost exactly the wrong moment for Napoleon. We'll come back to the clock ticking on that march. Meanwhile, Wellington chooses his ground carefully. A low ridge, farmhouses that can be turned into fortresses, and just enough distance to make Napoleon come to him. On the morning of the battle itself, Napoleon has a real, genuine reason to hesitate, and it's not fear, it's mud. Overnight rain has turned the field into a swamp. Napoleon's greatest weapon has always been his artillery, but wet ground swallows cannonballs instead of letting them bounce and skip through enemy ranks. So he delays the attack for hours, waiting for the ground to dry. That delay, those few hours waiting for mud to firm up, will turn out to be one of the most expensive decisions in military history, because every hour Napoleon waits for dry ground is an hour closer for Blücher's Prussians, marching hard to reach the battlefield. Now here's the real question. By early afternoon, scouts report Prussian troops on the horizon. Napoleon knows Blücher isn't finished. He knows a second army is coming. This is the exact moment a cautious commander pulls back, consolidates, retreats toward France, lives to fight on his own terms. Napoleon does the opposite. He commits harder, because retreating isn't just a battlefield decision for him anymore. It's political. Napoleon had returned from exile only months earlier. His throne, his empire, his entire second chance depended on looking unbeatable. A retreat here doesn't just lose a battle. It signals to all of Europe and to France itself that the emperor is finished. So while Grouchy is still miles away chasing the wrong army, yes, remember him? Napoleon throws everything he has at Wellington's line instead of pulling back. For hours, the French throw wave after wave at Wellington's position. Infantry assaults, a massive cavalry charge that very nearly breaks the Allied line. The farmhouse called Hougoumont turns into a slaughterhouse that both sides bleed into for the entire day, fighting over a single walled garden. And it's close. Wellington himself later admits it was, in his words, the closest run battle of his life. If Napoleon had broken that line by mid-afternoon before Blücher's Prussians arrived, this video would have a completely different ending. But by early evening, they arrived. Blücher's Prussians hit Napoleon's exhausted right flank. The exact threat Napoleon gambled wouldn't matter in time. Now he's fighting two armies at once, on ground that's already cost him thousands of men. He has one card left, the Imperial Guard. Napoleon's most elite, most feared troops held back the entire day for exactly this moment. If they break Wellington's line now, everything else stops mattering. They fail. For the first time in their history, the Imperial Guard is thrown back, and along the French line, a rumor spreads faster than any order could stop it. La Garde recule. The Guard is retreating. If the Guard can break, nothing is safe. The French army doesn't retreat in order, it collapses. So why didn't Napoleon retreat before it came to this? Because every version of retreat available to him that morning was, in his mind, worse than the risk of losing outright. Retreat meant abandoning a war he needed to win completely, not partially, to keep his throne. It meant trusting that Grouchy's 30,000 men, sent chasing an army that had already outmaneuvered him, would somehow matter later. And it meant betting that mud, timing, and a single afternoon would break in his favor after 20 years of getting away with exactly that kind of gamble. For 20 years, that gamble had built an empire. On June 18th, 1815, it ended one. 4 days later, Napoleon abdicated for the second and final time. He would never command an army again. If you want more of history's biggest turning points explained like they're happening in real time, subscribe, because the next decision that changed everything